Today I'm going to share with you how to make 3 hanging accessories inspired by boho styles for our American Girl doll. So the first one is a pom pom wall hanging, and let's get started. Here's a list of what we need for this DIY. Of course, we need pom poms. Here are all the pom poms that I have from my craft room. And I found some bright colored ones. The one that I'm holding right now is really nice, but that's the only one that I have. I don't remember where I got it from, but that's ideal. And also use some clear beads. This is optional, but I just want to keep the weight down for the bottom pom-pom. And of course you need thread. And also, this is from my backyard. I had used this. So this is like a tree branch, and I've trimmed it down to be 8 inches long. I'm going to be using 2 other branches for the other wall hangings as well. So the first thing I'm going to do, I insert the double thread. So now we need 4 threads right here for each string. So I just made a knot, and then I insert through the middle of the bottom, the very first one. So this one is a bigger size. I'm going to use like 2 or 3 different sizes, and it looks better if the pom-poms are in various sizes, and of course they're being inserted in different colors. And for the boho style, you need bright colors. So this is the very first one that I did sew back and forth, and then I also insert that bead just to keep the bottom pom-pom with the weight down. And then for the second one, all I have to do is just to insert through the middle, and then leave about like 1/2 an inch space in between the pom-poms. And then I just keep doing it and inserting. As I've mentioned again, we just use like the smaller size, a bigger size. It's just like vary so that they're not identical, and it's going to turn out really cool. So within one string, I use about 3 big pom-poms and 4 smaller pom-poms. And then we're going to make like a longer string, shorter ones, so they're just going to be random sizes. This design, I'm using about 7 strings, and each string is about 6 to 8 inches long, and they're varied in sizes. And so once I reach towards the end, I just use a branch and then wrap it around a few times and just make a few knots so that it's secured. The other way that you could do is just to use hot glue, and then just glue the end of the thread and just glue it down towards the back of the branch or your art, and then that's it. And then just cut up. And this is the very first one, and I choose to do the middle one, and then we're going to work it out towards the side. So repeat the same thing with the other strings, and just have fun with it. Like play with different colors or different color themes, different sizes. And this is how the final products look like from mine. I'm sure yours is going to be nice as well. This DIY is super easy, and I hope you liked it. The next DIY that we're going to work on is the macrame plant hangers. I'm going to be showing you to do that in 2 ways. The first one is the plain one, and the second one's with the beads. So I've used this yarn, cotton yarn, and that's about like almost 1/8 of an inch in terms of thickness, and I bought this bundle for $2. We'll also need some aluminum wires, just optional. I use this to make a ring, but then again, if you found something around the house, a ring with the size of about 3/8 of an inch or 1/2 of an inch diameter, go ahead and use it. From the yarn bundle, I've cut out 10 strings with a length of 20 inches and 1 string with 10 to 12 inches. Now from the ring that I've just made, I am inserting the 10 strings through that ring and then turn it over by 1 inch. Then I use hot glue just to glue the strings in place, but then again, this is optional. And then I use a single string and just tie it right below the ring and make a knot, and then I just twist and turn it around and wrap it around the turned over strings. So that should be like around 1 inch, and so when I reach towards the end, I just make a knot. Or you can also wrap it around, and then use hot glue just to glue everything in place. And then if there is any extra string sticking out, you can trim it off or just leave it. It's all up to you. But as you can see how much I love hot glue, I just use hot glue for everything, and in this case I even glue it until the last piece of the string, and then I just trim everything off from there. Next, I place a whole piece on the table and then spread the strings out into 5 different pairs. I didn't use the masking tape this time, but you can always use the masking tape just to tape the ring part down to make it easier for you to work. And then from those 5 pairs of strings, I'm going to make it 5 knots. And as you can see here, the length from the bottom knot to the first tied knot that I'm going to be doing is about 5 inches. So for the doll size, I think it's a good size, so 5 inches. So we're going to make all 5 knots with the same length or distance from the bottom of the knot. So once we're done, I'm going to spread out those 5 knots, and then from each knot, from each pair, you're going to take 1 string, just like that, and make a knot out of it. So the distance or the length from the very first knot to the knot that we're going to be knotting is about 2 inches. And for the next string, you can be neighboring or pairing it with the neighbor knot, and that's going to be 2 inches as well. And repeat it the same. So once we reach towards the end, we're going to tie the 2 outside strings together, the 2 end strings together. Normally people end the macrame planter right here with 2 rows of knots, but I'm gonna go for one more row, so we have all 3 rows of knots. Then again, just lay it down and then repeat the same step with the previous steps that I showed you. From each knot, take out 1 string and then tie it up with the neighbor ones, and then the 2 in the sides, we're gonna tie that together. And again, the distance from the bottom knots to the new knots is going to be 2 inches as well. Again, there's no right and wrong. I guess you can do like 1.5 inches, and I found that 2 inches works really well. So once we get all the knots from the bottom 3rd rows done, I am pressing the whole strings down, and then from there 2 inches, I'm going to make a huge knot. That's going to be the bottom, and pull it really tight. So I'm pulling each string as well, just so that our jumbo knot is going to be nice and tight. And that's it, and then we're done. So I'm going to be also, if the strings from the bottom are not equal in length, you can trim it off or leave it. It's all up to you. So let's see how it turns out. Wow, it looks really nice. So I'm very happy with the results. Yeah, that's how it is. That's how it looks. So I've decided to trim the bottom just to make all the strings be the same length. And now with the bead option, in order for the yarn to pull through the beads easily, I am just using a hand sewing needle. Insert the thread and then make a knot, and then use the yarn and insert it through the thread ring, and that way I can use a needle and pull through the hole of the bead. and that's how I get the beads through. And again, I just skipped the first part where the ring is. This is where you need to insert the beads. And again, for each rows of knot, I'm using 5 beads only, because as you can see, there are 5 pairs. So now the only thing that you have to pay attention is that from each pair, you will pair 1 string with the bead and 1 string without the bead. And then you just tie the knot right below the bead. So when it's being hung, the bead's gonna land on the knot. So just repeat the same thing. For this one, I've decided to use 2 rows of beads, but with 3 rows of knots. There's no right and wrong. Again, it's all up to you. It's your design. I'm just showing the basic. But I'm very happy with the result, and I love this mustard color. I'm so happy that I have some from home. And let's try to put this planter on to see. It turned out great. I just love it. The next DIY that I'm going to share with you is a Dreamcatcher hanging. And for this set, I'm using 5 different sizes of Dreamcatchers. So I'm using this aluminum wire, again 12 gauge, and I've made them into various sizes from 1.5 inches to 5 inches in diameter. Next, I'm using an off-white grosgrain ribbon with 1/4 inch in width, and so I've cut out the ribbon with the length of about 15 inches, and then just wrap it around the wire, just to cover the wire, just to give it more like a fabric or a threaded look. So once in a while I add hot glue just so that the ribbons stay in place, and then once I reach towards the end, I also use a lot of hot glue just to glue the end and then cut up the ribbon. So I repeat the same steps for the other 4 hoops as well. And for the bottom strands of the Dreamcatchers, I've used different kinds of yarns that I've found from home. So I picked out the very nice pastel colors. I've also cut out the felt strips in off-white color. And then I've also used some 1/4 inch laces that I found. For the web design on the hoop, instead of weaving the web, I'm using it the easy way. So in this case, I'm using the crochet piece that I already have from home. You can use a lace piece as well, like lace fabric. And so all I have to do is just to cut out the lace design and wrap it around, and use hot glue and glue it with the around the hoop. So I repeat the same steps with the other 4, or you can play around with the design. As you can see later on, with the smallest web design, I only use 1 string of the crochet and make it into more like a half moon design. I forgot to record the parts where I apply the strands together, and all you have to do is just to fold it and then insert it through 1 loop of the strands, and then the other ways you can tie it, or you can use hot glue and make everything in place. And once you're done, you can cut the end into different shapes, or fishtail shape or the pointed shape. So once that's done, I use different florals, flowers that I have from my craft room. So these are the fabric flowers, and I just apply it on with hot glue and hot glue gun. and it turned out like super cute, up, down, like different designs. You can use like the pom-poms. Go ahead, have fun, whatever you have, beads. This smaller scale is so much fun to work with. For this collection, I've decided to do the flowers applique on the left hand side of the Dreamcatcher, and that's how everything looks like. The color blends really well, so I'm very happy with the result. Next, I cut out 5 strings from the yarn bundle, and they're varied in sizes, in lengths. So 5 inches, 6 inches to 8 inches, and then I just tie it onto the top of the Dreamcatcher. And as you can see, I love hot glue, so I just glue it after I tie it. And once that's done, we'll connect all the Dreamcatchers onto the branch. And so the way I position them, they're varied. The strings are varied in length, so the Dreamcatchers could be placed high and low. And I guess it's up to you whether you want the middle to be higher or lower. You can also plan to position them in different sizes. So in this case, I'm making the biggest size to be in the middle, lower, and then the smaller size to be higher. And I'm very happy with the way mine turned out. So once again, thank you so much for joining me, spending time with me. Please give this video a big thumbs up, and for new people, please press the subscribe button. I shall see you soon. Bye!